Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Accelo Best Practices webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about the benefits of creating an internal company in Accelo. However, before we actually jump into the presentation, I just wanted to cover a couple of housekeeping items quickly. First, everyone on today's webinar is muted just to keep feedback and disruptions to a minimum during the webinar. Secondly, if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to send those in throughout the webinar using the chat feature in the webinar interface. So depending on time at the end of the webinar, we'll try to get to a few questions to answer. So again, please feel free throughout the webinar to chat those in using the chat feature in the webinar interface. And then after the webinar, if we're not able to get to some of those questions, we will note those down and follow up with those people who leverage those questions during the webinar. Lastly, we are recording today's webinar and we will be sending a recording out within the next few days. So please feel free to share the recording with colleagues or anybody that you think might find value in today's best practices webinar. And we'll be sending out that webinar recording shortly after the webinar concludes. So with that, let's get going with today's presentation. So the agenda today, first we're going to start with some introductions. And then we're going to talk about why building an internal company in Accelo is of benefit. Then we're going to cover the basics of actually building the internal company within your Accelo account. We're going to go over a couple of real-life examples of an internal company. And my colleague, Josh Tan, is going to be going over a few pro tips to make sure that you remember while building your internal company in your Accelo account. Then we're going to do a couple additional resource discussions. And then again, at the end, we're going to hopefully follow up and answer a few questions. So please, again, chat those questions through to us during the webinar, and we'll see how many we can get to here at the end. So your host for today, my name is Eddie Driver. I am a Senior Manager of Product Marketing with Accelo. I am here to help try to enable the Accelo customer base to get more out of their Accelo account and help discover some new ways to use Accelo. And I am joined by my colleague, Josh Tan.
Hey there, my name's Josh, and I'm an implementation manager based out of Accelo San Francisco. I've been here for 2 years, and I've implemented dozens of clients. Some of you are here today in a variety of professional services.
Thanks, Josh. And just quickly before Josh kicks off with some of the internal company basics, we wanted to kick off our 2020 Best Practices series with what we're calling a secret menu item. So in the past, we've done some best practices with different Accelo modules, or we've done some best practices on some workflows, but we really wanted to start the new year off with something that is a little bit off menu. For anybody who's been to the West Coast and maybe has visited In-N-Out Burger, you may have heard of animal style fries. It's not on their menu, but it's a very popular item because people really like it and tell each other about it. And we found that creating an internal company is something that some of our most successful clients do and has a really large benefit to any Accelo user, but it's not actually something that we typically talk about as one of the core Accelo functions. So Josh and I thought it'd be a really great way to kick off our 2020 webinar series to talk about something that is not something we normally promote as one of our core modules in the system, but we know is going to bring a ton of value to businesses that are really looking to have that more holistic view of project and business performance. So really excited to kick off 2020 with this quote unquote secret menu item and have Josh chat through creating an internal company within your Accelo account. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Josh.
Cool. Thanks, Eddie. There are a lot of benefits to building an internal company in Accelo. In fact, I get this question from a lot of my own implementation clients when they need a place in the system to manage their non-client facing work and track internal time. Most clients have a lot of their own internal work and functions that remain separate from their client facing work. An internal company will allow you to manage both in the same place. By doing so, you're also encouraging better capacity planning for all of your users. So in short, as a manager, you'll get a more accurate picture of how well utilized or how busy your staff really is. We understand that percent billable is truly the most important metric for any professional service business. However, that doesn't often account for the full picture. We've also noticed that a lot of the time, folks will keep their internal work outside of Accelo, like in a spreadsheet, but what's really the point when you can have it all together on the same platform, especially when it's super easy to distinguish between billable and non-billable items within Accelo. There are a ton of internal use cases across Accelo's 4 main tools, and I've seen a lot of deployments come up with many creative ways to apply these for their own benefit. Now, I'd say that projects and retainers stand out as the 2 most heavily used internally, as projects are both robust and super flexible across various needs, and retainers have the recurring feature that everybody really enjoys. So now we're going to go through the actual steps of what it takes to build out your very own internal company in Accelo. And spoiler alert, it's actually no different at all from creating your typical company in your Accelo client CRM. All you have to do is add a new company name in, which can be just coined as your company name plus the word internal. That makes it pretty easy to pull up under your global search bar. Now, as always, you're required to add in a contact under your own internal company, and you absolutely don't want to add in an actual user. You especially don't want to add in a user's email address here, as it can introduce a whole host of problems. Instead, you should add in a placeholder user, either a staff member who is not an Accelo user, or a real person while excluding their work email address, or you can just create a standard contact, call it internal user. Now that you have an internal company set up, you can do everything that you normally already do for your clients, but for yourselves too. First, start by navigating to the Tasks tab on the company page. This will list all of your tasks that are not affiliated with any larger projects. Now, this is an excellent spot for you to create ad hoc tasks for your team that are not tied to any long-term work. An excellent example here are just office chores that might need to get done, maybe ordering more supplies, delivering packages, restocking the office keg. Really, anything administrative or housekeeping related will work well here. Now, as always, these tasks can have time budgets and will appear on your users' task boards along with their regular client work. Now, if you have any longer-term internal work that needs to get done across multiple teammates, departments, timeframes, and requiring a lot more resources and attention, you may consider using projects so that you can build out your own robust plan, which can handle all of these moving pieces and variables and other elements. This example here includes an internal brand refresh project for Dunder Mifflin, my test company, and all the tasks that need to be worked on, milestones that need to be accomplished, and identifies which items are dependent on one another in order to stay within a predetermined schedule. As with any client-facing project, you can also include materials and expenses for any internal work that can be subscription licenses, social media spend, ordering swag for your own clients. These are all custom examples. Finally, another pro tip here is to mark the entire project as non-billable. That way, this won't get confused with any of your client-facing billable work. This means that this project won't come up on your list pages or billing tools when you're tracking all of your work that needs to get invoiced. Marking it as non-billable will keep all of the time that you've tracked for this in an orange color and distinguishes it from the work that you need to charge your clients for. As mentioned previously, projects are most commonly used for internal companies across Accelo. Since they are so adaptable with project plans, they're really easy to set up creatively across a wide variety of client use cases. Retainers are also really fun for tracking any periods of regular consumption, such as monthly recurring internal work and so on. Another pro tip here is to set these retainers either to be prepaid at $0 or postpaid, so you don't send yourselves a bill, while still being able to track your time and even value against a pre-established budget. Finally, you can also use tickets for any internal fixes for your IT team to handle, website changes, Database updates are also common examples. All right, now we're going to take a look at some examples of actual internal companies created by clients of ours. Of course, we're going to keep everything anonymous, and we've relabeled everything to be under Dunder Mifflin. So check this out. Now we're looking at the front-facing view of the internal brand refresh project, which we mentioned earlier. Each task here can be assigned out to a specific staff member who can log their time, which shows up in orange. It's still smart to set up a time budget so that you can track how much time everybody is spending against a target goal. These tasks have statuses that allow you to track the progress of the work done by staff. Now, last but not least, we've actually found another clever use case from several clients of ours. They've created internal projects to manage different HR functions. In this case, we're tracking PTO time off, flex time, and so on. They've put a system in place and assigned out a task to each employee in order to track how much time off they register throughout a full working year. A budget can be established based on the staff member's seniority, let's say 80 hours of time off a year, and then an HR user can come in and log time as a note in 8-hour increments and leave details as to why they are taking time off. Now that's all saved in the stream just like any other project. Note that when they do go over their budget 80 hours a year, the bar will show in a red color.
Great, thanks, Josh. So, I think it's pretty obvious through Josh's presentation that, setting up an internal company within Accelo is very beneficial to be able to track that internal work that your employees may be engaging in that are not being billed to clients, but also incredibly simple to do. It doesn't take a lot of time or a lot of effort to create that internal company. So something that really has a lot of benefit and a lot of return for your business for not a lot of time invested in that area. So, to keep going here, we wanted to bring out a couple of additional resources. And the first one is we have a lot of customers that ask us both about things like creating an internal company to solve the problem of bringing more of the work their business does into a single platform and bringing it out of external spreadsheets and other tools that you may be using to track internal work. What's the best way to do that? And what are some of the other things that that business could be doing to help not only have Accelo fit into the workflows better, but have Accelo optimized to fit their unique business structure? And one of the ways we do that is with our expert services. So these services are provided by Accelo and really are geared to help all Accelo customers utilize the platform better and have Accelo be of more benefit to their business. So with these services, we're able to conduct them in one-on-one sessions or group trainings, whichever way may be easiest for your business. One of the great things about them are they are built for your specific goals. So you actually bring here's what I'm trying to solve, or here's the goal that I have in mind, and we actually create a plan to help you achieve that goal with these services. And the last one is they're highly flexible, so they can be one time, they can be multiple sessions. We create that work plan to be able to achieve that goal for the members of your business that are going to be involved, and then we can structure those services in order to fit that structure for your business. So if you're interested in any expert services, both for things like, in this presentation, a better way to continue to track all of that time and bring it all kind of under one house, happy to help with any of those, as well as just any areas of Accelo usage that you feel like maybe you'd like to know how to do something better, how to optimize your workflows, how to set it up so that you are onboarding people correctly. Any of those situations are things that we can help with our expert services. So if you're interested, here on your screen, you'll see an email address, expertservices@accelo.com. Please feel free to just shoot a quick email to that email address with a little bit of information about what you'd like to learn. And from there, we actually schedule a free 30-minute discovery call just to learn about what those goals are, the sorts of things that you would like to achieve with the services, and then we can structure the services around what you're trying to achieve, and we can build that out for you. You can also reach out to your Accelo representative. So please, if you're interested in either of those methods to reach out to Accelo, we'd be happy to get on that call and see what we can do to help. Okay, so we've had a few questions come through during the presentation, and we are going to get to a couple of those. And the first one, Josh, this one is for you. So with an internal company, can I track tickets that my website team uses to fix bugs on our website?
Yeah, that's a great question. And coincidentally, it's actually something that we do internally at Accelo HQ. We didn't talk too much about the use of tickets during the webinar, but it's absolutely a good use case in order to track anything that needs to be worked on internally as well. So the website team does have a function where we've created a separate ticket type that's internal. So if anybody notices that there's work that needs to be done on a specific web page on accelo.com, they can submit an internal ticket, and that goes straight to our devs to work on. Obviously, the time is being tracked, tasks can be assigned out and mitigated from the ticket page. However, it's not something that we invoice for at all. It's just a way to stay on top of specific bug fixes and changes and keep all of that accurate and up to date within our own system.
Okay, thanks, Josh. And so another one that came in here, can you log internal emails about an internal project to that project?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you've seen on the bottom left corner of each project page, there's actually a project email alias. So if you're communicating about a project from user to user, that's going to be externally, like let's say in Gmail or Exchange. You can always CC or BCC that email alias, and it'll push that whole conversation thread onto the actual internal project page. Now, if you're working just through Accelo, you can just simply send other users a note. You can also include attachments there. All of that information will automatically be saved in that stream. Alternatively, you can also send an email to another user from Accelo, and all of those responses will be noted as a part of that project as well.
Great. Okay, so we have another one here. This one is from Bradley. So how does Accelo's integrated vacation calendar affect reporting for time tracking? Is there an advantage to using a PTO or holiday internal project and logging time against that project versus just using the kind of out-of-the-box vacation calendar?
Yeah, so when you mark yourselves as on vacation within the Accelo personal calendar that you're seeing in the top right corner under preferences, what you're doing is actually separate from your internal tracking. And let me explain this further. You're basically telling the system that you're unavailable on those days, so the system doesn't automatically assign work. In terms of utilization, Accelo understands that you're not working those days, you're not responsible for any work, and so on. That's completely separate from how you might structure your own internal PTO policy. By default, Accelo doesn't have a built-in tool that really measures that. That's why a lot of folks tend to build out this within an internal project. If you're keeping track of how many hours somebody's saving and accruing, that's when you can create a project for that, so you can see how much time you're spending on a holiday, on vacation, and so on. Again, that's separate from Accelo's built-in system where you're setting up how long you're gone for so that you can track better capacity planning.
Great. Okay, then we have another one here. Okay, Aaron asked for what about tracking things like PTO or time away from the office? I think we did a pretty good job of handling that one during the webinar. So here's another good one from Dan. What's the best way to handle privacy, such as things like your PTO example, for only allowing certain users to view a given internal object?
Yeah, so you can actually set up privacy settings for most items within Accelo. As you probably have seen, you can create a whole internal project that's only visible to certain members. You can also set up private relationships. So if you need to create your own private HR relationship with your internal company, that can be set up. That way you can manage your own activities secretly from the rest of your team if that's your specific role. The way that we've developed these internal projects is basically people working within an HR function would be the ones coming in and logging time. You can also create a system where you have your own separate request inbox where other Accelo users can submit time off requests, which are received by certain members of an HR team, which can then log that time off under this internal project.
Great. And then we have another one from Christine, which is, where will emails associated with this specific project be displayed or stored? And can we view past emails from the project?
Yeah, so just like any other object in Accelo, any emails associated with this internal project will live on this internal project stream, and that'll just go as far back as the first email that was sent that relates to it. So that'll be always there for you to view. If you need to adjust any privacy settings in the future, you can always go to a specific activity there and adjust the privacy settings so that's no longer visible by the rest of your team.
Cool. And then actually, I think this is probably going to be the last question we're able to get to today. But again, we can follow up with any other questions that we have from particular individuals to talk through the answers to those questions. But the last one here is, Samantha asks, can you give any information about best practices or recommendations for using bookings for internal meetings?
Yeah. So the bookings tool is really useful across the board. I would say most folks use it for client work in the same way it can be applied to anything internal as well in the same capacity. Using the bookings tool is really crucial if you have a certain task that's already assigned out to somebody, but another person might need to help out, step in and work on that. So let's say you have an existing task that's assigned out to Dwight, but Pam needs to come in and assist Dwight. You can create a booking. And by doing so, you can either schedule or commit time. Scheduling time will place a direct meeting on Pam's calendar to assist Dwight. In the same way, you can also use the commit function and commit certain hours of Pam's day to jump in and assist Dwight. It'll be up to Pam whenever she wants to jump in and work on it whenever she has the availability. So those are always your two options when using the bookings tool.
Great, thanks, Josh. Okay, so I do think that kind of brings us to the end of the time we have here. We have a couple more questions, may require a little bit more in-depth conversation about specifics in your account usage or how you actually have some things structured. So again, we'll be following up with individuals about the questions that they have. So with that, I just want to take a second to thank everybody for attending today's best practices webinar on creating an internal company within Accelo. Hopefully you learned a little bit around the benefit of why creating an internal company can help you bring more of your work under one place and kind of help you understand where more time is being spent. We will be sending a recording of today's webinar to all of the attendees that were able to join today. So thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day to join us. And I know we really appreciate everybody continuing to be engaged and wanting to learn more on how to use Accelo and how it benefits your business. So Josh, anything?
No, sounds good. We'll go through the rest of your questions and we'll send you answers later on as well. I appreciate everything that's come through.
Okay, thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Thanks so much.